the landscape has changed. And this change is not just, aside from the volatility that is going around in today's world, the fact that digitization is also disrupting what we used to know. The fact that digitization has changed, technology has changed so much. Supply chains are now more interconnected and unfortunately also brings us more exposure than before. So, taking one moment to remind everyone that cargo crime nowadays is no longer just opportunistic. It is very much based on our data, TAPA Apex data, it has become more organized, more targeted, and increasingly sophisticated. And thereby, we all understand now that this actually puts a lot of risk on our high value and vulnerable shipments, and with the likes of especially pharma products, which will affect you and me here today. So now the real question is no longer do we have security. It has very much pivoted to become, are our supply chain truly resilient? Now, today's discussion is going to address exactly just that. Okay, we're going to hear from our premier partner, Project Argus, and their team. So, Project Argus is an expert in intelligent supply chain solution that has been helping many companies across Asia to drive operational efficiency and business resilience. So, from the Project Argus team, let me share if I may. Okay, the next, okay, it comes on nicely. So from the Project Argus team, we have Ms. Jeanette Wong, the Operations Director, Mr. Melvin Tay, VP for Sales and Commercial, and as well as Ms. Julia Sapturani, the Business Development and Channels Manager. As well as we will have also our Dr. Amarpreet, who is currently the lead for our Standards Committee, sharing also his perspective. Now, the Project Argus team will first and foremost share their research and development work in three parts. Firstly, the latest threat landscape, as well as real-world challenges faced by organizations across the region, as well as their experience in helping clients to strengthen security and resilience. Okay, so without further ado, before I invite the first speaker, let us take a look at what Project Argus is all about. Okay, so first and foremost, let us invite Ms. Julia Sapturani, Business Development and Channels Manager of Project Argus, to share her latest insights to the global cargo crime landscape. So, Ms. Julia, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julia, and thank you for joining us today. So today I will be sharing the global cargo crime landscape Asia and its impact on US and European markets. Now, let's move to the next slide, please. Supply chains today are more unpredictable than ever. When geopolitical events strike, visibility disappears. Now, recent events in the Middle East caused significant disruption across the supply chain. As air routes changed and containers were rerouted, shippers were unable to locate their freight for several weeks, impacting manufacturing lines and delaying deliveries to end customers. Next slide. This is another major shift today. It's cyber-related cargo theft. Previously, theft was mostly physical. Reports show online diversion theft has increased by over 1,000 in recent years. You know, the attackers hack the system and it redirects shipment without being noticed. And that's the risk. It's much harder to detect. The impact, delays, higher costs, and disruption across the supply chain. Today, cargo theft is more digital, more targeted, and more organized. If you're interested in this insight, feel free to follow us on LinkedIn or drop us an inquiry. Next slide. Now, when we look at truck operation nowadays, one is the common issue is theft from stationary vehicles. This occurs more often than many realize, especially when subcontractors are involved. For example, a truck may be parked in an area with limited security and monitoring, making it an easy target for theft. Even when a truck is not in transit, the cargo remains vulnerable. It is a risk that many companies that tend to overlook. Next slide. Most people assume that once a truck is moving, it is safe. In reality, 74% of cargo theft occurs while the vehicle is in transit. Well, these incidents are rarely random. Their common tactics, for example, include access through sunroofs or side doors, tailgating maneuvers, and even highly coordinated like fast and furious style theft. They carry out from nearby vehicles. Wow, some of these groups operate with remarkable speed and coordination, approaching surrounding vehicles and striking within a moment. This shows that the risk is often greater when cargo is moving, not only when it is parked. Next slide. Now, let's look at one of the highest targets for adversary today, AI chips. Each of these shipments can be worth between 10 million and 30 million, and these chips are strategically critical. They are not only highly valuable, but also essential to technology development and national competitiveness. And this slide shows their high value and strategic importance make them prime targets, with a risk profile far greater than that of typical cargoes. Protecting this shipment is not just about preventing financial loss, it is about safeguarding technology, innovation, and competitive advantage. Next slide. freight trends under attack. This is not just a trucking problem. Cargo theft is also affecting rail freight operations globally, worldwide. You know, in the United States, theft has tripled since 2023, resulting in losses of more 100 million and impacting over 65,000 shipments. Overall, rail cargo theft also increased in 16% in 2025. Similar incidents have been reported in Europe, China, and India, where their coordinated in-transit attacks exploit predictable routes and limited monitoring. Well, with IoT technologies, companies can monitor freight continuously, respond more quickly to threats to reduce the risk of theft. Next slide, please. Now, here one of the fastest growing threats in freight, metal theft. In 2025 alone, incident increased by 77%, marking one of the sharpest rise among all commodity categories. Copper remains the primary target, given its widespread use in wiring, construction, EV, and data centers. The financial loss also significant, with the average value increased by 36%. So how do we respond to this? Technologies such as IoT tracking and Visible Pro enable real-time shipment monitoring, early detection of suspicious activity, and faster response times, helping to reduce risk before it turns into a loss. If we step back and look at the bigger picture here, cargo crime today is more global and organized than ever. Traditional approach alone are no longer enough. And now, Melvin will take over to take us through how Project Argus strengthens supply chain security and boosts visibility to mitigate this risk. Melvin, over to you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you hear me all right. And thank you once again, Tapa team. And to you, Julia, thank you for setting the context so vividly. Now, what you shared really matters, Julia, because it reinforces one simple reality, right? Cargo risk today is no longer local and is no longer isolated. What starts in one part of the world can ripple very quickly into APAC, Europe, and US. Now, according to TAPA APAC's latest intelligence update, it shows that cargo crime in the region is not standing still. It's becoming more complex, more targeted, and definitely more costly. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still relying on delayed updates to manage real-time risk, you're basically not managing risk. You are reacting to loss, which in many times are preventable. Next, please. So let me open my sharing today with this 30 seconds clip. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not on this journey already, please, you got to be on it. Because real-time visibility and intelligent cargo security are no longer nice to have. They are becoming core infrastructure for modern supply chains. Now, to build on Julia's insights, let's shift from understanding the risk to how we actually manage and mitigate it in real time. More specifically, how do we translate cargo risk, disruption, and uncertainty into real-time visibility, better decision-making, and stronger protection on the ground? Next. Sorry, the previous slide. Now let's zoom out for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Why IoT? Why now? Because the market is telling us very clearly, right, that connected visibility is becoming the new normal. As you can see, connected IoT devices grew 14% in 2025 to 21 billion, and they are expected to reach 39 billion by 2030. This is not a small trend. This is a structural shift. Now, the more important point is this. IoT is no longer just about tracking location. It's about managing risk in real time. It's about moving a basic status update to live monitoring, from delayed information to actionable intelligence, from passive logistics to active decision support. That is the direction the market is moving. And that is exactly why this topic matters so much today. In other words, if the cargo can be seen, understood, and acted on earlier, your business is better protected. Next, please. So what does that mean in practice, right? You'll be asking. Now, this is where the Argus Electronic Freight Security Program, or better known as AEFS, gives you the power of visibility and resilience. The AEFS are a set of technologies and solutions used to monitor and secure freight shipments in real time through digital means. It combines IoT devices, GPS tracking, geofencing, and data analytics to help safeguard freight and reduce risks like theft, loss, and tampering. And that matters because, per what you hear from Julia, the complexity of modern logistics is no longer manageable with only periodic updates or manual checks. We need an approach that understands that shipment, the environment, and the risk conditions around it. That is why electronic freight security is not just a technology layer, but as a part of modern supply chain management itself. So when we talk about security, we are not only talking about protecting the goods. We are talking about protecting service levels, customer confidence, and operational integrity. In my next slide, let's talk about money. More importantly, let's talk about how disruption costs money. Now, let me emphasize a very important point here. Carrier updates can be delayed or incomplete during disruption, and in some cases, they can even conceal what is actually happening. That already creates blind spots, delayed reactions, and a lot of manual chasing for information per insight shared by Julia earlier. And when that happens, the shipment is still moving, but in actual fact, you as a customer cannot clearly see it. That is where IoT becomes especially powerful, because it keeps transmitting independently. In other words, it acts as the eyes and ears of the shipper, even when the carrier side goes quiet. Now, that is a very big difference, because if the official update disappears, but the device signal is still alive, you are not operating blind. You still have a line of sight. You still have a chance to locate the cargo, still have a chance to respond before the issue becomes a loss event that triggers another chain of incidents, such as legal disputes, premium hikes, and things of that nature. And in a volatile supply chain environment, that can make all the difference. Next. Now, this is where Project Argus approach becomes different, because we don't look at this as just a tracking problem. We look at it as a decision system. And that is why our approach is built around 4 layers, which are sense, think, act, and adapt. First, we sense. where we capture real-time signals across the supply chain, such as GPS, sensors, shipment conditions, port congestion, weather, and geopolitical risks. Because if you cannot see what is happening in real time, you're already reacting too late. Then we think. This is where data becomes intelligence, because we apply forecasts, predictive models, scenario planning, and cost service constraints. So instead of us asking, where is my shipment? We start asking, what is likely to happen next? And what should we do about it? Then we act. This is where intelligence turns into execution, where we can reroute shipments, adjust inventory, trigger replenishment, switch suppliers, and avoid unnecessary cost escalation. That is the shift from visibility to control. And finally, we adapt. We build feedback loops from delays, disruptions, performance outcomes, and we continuously improve on forecast accuracy, supplier decisions, and response strategies. So your entire system doesn't just react. It gets stronger with every disruption. And this is how we build anti-fragility. Next. Now, let me bring this to life with the innovation examples. Here you can see a set of latest Project Argus solutions highlighted. The Argus Rapid Disposable, the Rechargeable, Argus Active Tags, and Argus Seal. Each of these devices represents flexibility in how different shipment profiles can be monitored and secured. Now that matters because not every shipment has the same risk profile. A high-value shipment, a compliance-sensitive shipment, or a fast-moving regional shipment may each need a slightly different level of monitoring and intervention. So the solution has to be practical, adaptable, and scalable. That is what makes a security platform commercially useful. Not just that it works, but that it fits the reality of each and every customer's operation. Next. Now, let me bring this down to a very practical example. Argus Rapid is designed for rapid deployment. It's a disposable, recyclable mobile hub that can be deployed almost instantaneously. Supports up to 60 days of in-transit tracking and is certified for pharma and cold chain use across more than 50 countries and more than 50 airlines. So when a shipment needs to move quickly across borders with compliance requirements, the visibility solution is already ready to go. And in terms of where this applies, it's very straightforward. Next slide, please. Now, whether it's cargo in transit or LTL movements in open loop, these are exactly the scenarios where visibility tends to break down. I believe you'll agree with me. And that is where real-time monitoring makes the biggest difference. By keeping the shipping visible, even when the journey becomes more complex. Next slide. Now let's connect the technology to the business outcomes. The benefits are clear. Proactive delivery, visibility, instant response to cargo conditions, theft and loss prevention, especially the alarming 1,200% increase in diversion thefts that Julia highlighted. Smarter decisions through analytics, reduced manpower for tracking, better on-time delivery, improved profitability, more importantly, and compliance support. That is exactly the commercial story. Because real-time tracking is not just about monitoring. It's about preventing escalation. It's about reducing loss, about helping the customers to avoid unnecessary costs, improving planning so the business can protect both service and margin. So if I were to leave you today with one thought, it'll be this. Visibility is only the starting point, and the real advantage comes when visibility is turned into intelligence, intelligence into action, and action into resilience. That's why IoT now plays such a critical role in secure freight and supply chain management. And that is why Project Argus is focused not just on tracking, because those were the days, yeah? but rather we focus on helping customers protect high value and vulnerable shipments in a volatile world. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Janet, who will take us further into how an integrated control tower platform enables end-to-end visibility across the supply chain. Janet, over to you.
Well, Melvin, thank you very much for that overview on the IoT growth, and of course to Julia, who actually outlined the incidents in terms of disrupting the supply chain on a daily basis. Right. So if you have heard from both Julia and Melvin, I believe everybody here actually agrees, and we do realize that it's about time we need a change, right? We need to be able to do more, and we need to be able to do better. Right. In the Project Argus corporate video, which Yvonne actually played earlier, right, it actually gave us an insights in terms of what Project Argus does. And in addition to that, let me explain further in the next slides on our excellent track record and our success story. Right. In the next slides over here, in terms of being entrepreneur and leaders in the supply chain, Project Argus have received awards, right, for our innovation as well as our cybersecurity. And we have also been awarded the top SME 500 award for 2 consecutive years now, which we are very proud of, right? Our head office is actually in Singapore. That's where I'm based in. Julia and Melvin, they are based in Malaysia. We do also have office in China, in India, in Thailand. And the good news is that we have just opened another office in Cambodia to support the government market, which shipments into the US. Right, so that basically covers our coverage within the APAC region. Right, we do also have got partners in the Europe and the US region, and we will actually be announcing a strategic partnership, right, with a leading supply chain risk advisory company that is based in the US. So please look out for the press release within the next week or so. Right, in the next slides, I want to bring your attention to our footprint across the global. Right, what you can see here is we do have a fusion center control tower that's located in US. Right, we have got one in Siberia. Right, and then of course we have got 2 fusion center control tower in India and 1 in Singapore. Right, so that basically covers us on a global scales itself. Right. In the next slides here, I will be moving on to what I will be talking about today. And I believe it is actually on everybody's wish list to have your entire supply chain live on one screen. So that's what Project Argus Control Tower platform, which we call the Visibility Pro, is all about. Right, but before I tell you more about this Visibility Pro platform, let's first establish the understanding in terms of what exactly is a supply chain control tower. Right, in the next slides here, you will see that a supply chain control tower basically exists in 5 different layers. And these 5 layers are actually what I call the header layer, right? Which we then go into the granular level for the details and the informations. So having just the headline data and the informations in today's world is actually not good enough. It's not going to help us to solve any of the problems that we have encountered. It's not going to help us in one way or another, right? Remember what I said in terms of being able to do more and being able to do things better. Right, first of all, what you can see here, our first layer is actually our data layer, which we actually basically take all of the signal, we take all of the informations into one system, right? What you can see here are some of the data coming in from the ERP system, from your WMS, TMS, or even your tier 1 and tier 2 supplier system, right? And besides that, of course, what Melvin says, make a strong point in terms of getting signals and informations and data from the IoT devices deployment, right? Aside of all this data, we also do take into consideration very important external sources such as weather patterns, like the hurricanes, the typhoon, and the cyclones, which unfortunately happens in parts of the world on an annual basis. Also looking at the traffic overlay for estimated time of arrival, and of course, other markets feed as well, right? Next on, we have our second layer, which is our integration layer, right? Integration layer basically comes off where we actually helps to standardize the format, right? We create what we call a unified database, because this is particularly very important, because having all this data, if we don't put them under a unified platform or a database itself, right, it's going to be very messy, right? So this is where we have that layer over here where we do all the filtering, and then we will use this layer as our AI next. Right, and of course, after having the data coming into the platform, after making sure that they are all harmonized in a central database, that is where we comes on and as the third layer, which is something that's very interesting. This is what we call the analytics layer. Basically, an analytics layer is where having all these informations, we fuse all of them together. And then after that, we apply what we call our AI and our machine learning on it. We basically teach the model, in this layer itself, we teach the model to be able to provide us with predictive analysis as well as forecasting of events. Right. So not only in this layer itself, not only will we be able to predict and will we be able to forecast, it actually also helps us to identify if there's any opportunities, right? So this actually helps us to save costs if you think about it. And in actual fact, a lot of the methodologies that we actually use in our Visibility Pro platform actually are proprietary and confidential to Project Argus. So later on, you will be able to see that as I share more. In the next layer comes the visualization layer. So you remember we have our data, and then we try to put this data into our unified database, and then we do all the analysis, and then now we need to present it in the form of a visualizations content, like a visualizations dashboard to the stakeholder, to the customer, right? So what you see in the next slides really will give you an overview as what I mentioned in terms of having your entire supply chain live on one screen itself. Right, so in this visualization layer is where we try to provide interactive dashboard. We try to provide different kind of alerts and the kind of different layers in terms of the mapping, the weather, the traffic that actually helps the different stakeholder in decision making. Right, and last but not least, we actually have got our execution layer. Right, execution layer is where we then take our domain knowledge expert, our subject matters expertise, and all our know-how to create what we call the automated or the semi-automated actions or even corrective plans, such as rerouting of the shipments or even recommendations in terms of adjusting the inventory. A very good example that I can think of is probably in an event if you have got like a delay in your vessel, right? The system itself will be able to automate the process where they'll tell the planner to actually rebook the trucker. So this is actually to prevent any cost wastage, right? Where we actually send the truck to attend to collect the shipment that have yet to even arrive. And of course, this entire process itself can be automated. And of course, same goes for the transportation order. Right, in the next slides, right. Over here, you have actually heard Melvin talking about in terms of the sensing, the thinking, the acting, and the adapting. But what you see on the right side over here on the screen is actually a screenshot of our Visibility Pro platform, which is also the visualization layer. Remember what I said in terms of the visualization layer of having your entire supply chain live on one screen itself. This is our Visibility Pro. Right, a platform which we actually designed. We made it in Singapore, and we have been awarded an innovation grant for it. Can you believe it? Right, the product itself is actually designed for global shipments, whether it is an ocean or air or road or rail. And in this example that you see here is actually an intermodal shipment from Asia to Europe. Right, so this is actually used in combination of IoT signals, as well as other data that is all fused together on the system itself, our data layer. Right, as soon as the shipment is created in the platform, or the shipment data can actually comes direct through an EDI, it basically automatically produce the intermodal, as you can see on the screenshot, the top row, where you can see the breakdown of the entire journey shipment. Right, in this example here, you can see there's a shipment coming from Thailand, right, and it's due to go into the Europe, right? And to the right here is basically a list of informations and events which we captured, right, in terms of the entire shipment itself. And besides that, most interesting one is the map, right, which give you the visualization layer. What you see over here is actually a very significant risk layer. Right, we have over 30,000 now. We have over 30,000 global events that is being loaded onto the platform. So if you think about it, being able to combine or to fuse these different data sets together, we can actually use all these different data sets to help us with our supply chain risk assessment. But besides that, we can also actually use it for AI to analyze the risk as well as any anomalies or incidents that will happen in advance. So it outlines the ability to see the global risk impacting or affecting the particular shipment, or even risk outline when the planner who is using the platform to do route planning tools, right? Which is, if you see clearly, you can see a blue line, right, on the screenshot itself. That is actually the planned route, right? So it is highly versatile. As you can see, our Visibility Pro platform is actually designed for multiple departments or multiple stakeholders, such as the planner or even your logistic team, as well as it can also be used by your operator in your internal control tower, as well as your security team, right? Depending on what information each of this department or each of these stakeholder wants to see, we can adjust it accordingly. So everything is highly customizable in that aspects. Right. And I will want to bring you on to our last point over here in terms of how we actually adapt. Project Argus have been one of the industry drivers in developing anti-fragility processes, right? In our TAPA conference last year, I believe everybody have been talking about anti-fragility, because truth to be told, we have really gone past the stage of zero failure, right? After COVID-19, we have actually gone past the stage of being resilient. So right now, everybody is looking at how to be anti-fragile, right? And without having to repeat what Melvin have really shared in terms of the IoT deployment, right? The difference with Project Argus is that from every single events and informations that comes into the Visibility Pro platform, we teach the AI to learn and to grow using this anti-fragile approach. And when the AI model actually learns and grows, it then becomes a lot more unique. And in terms of decision making, in terms of the augment intelligence, this is indeed one of Project Argus' most unique selling point and value add. Right, in the next slides here, just a very quick overview and a graphic of how we actually process everything in the supply chain. So what you see on the most extreme left here is where we are able to take informations from the ERP systems, or even the signals and the informations from the IoT devices. We are also able to take shipping data. All right, you can see over here the shipping data. We take it straight into our Fusion Center, as well as our Visibility Pro platform. Right, in our Fusion Center, which I shared just now in the footprint itself, the teams monitors global shipments, and we do that for many large corporations. And in doing so, we basically act like a 4PL for these companies to help them to monitor these shipments, as well as providing them the recovery services. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, the Fusion Center is not only just looking for any red flags, looking for any anomalies which are going to impact the shipment, right? Which the Visibility Pro platform itself is already identifying long before any human can actually detect it, based on how we teach the AI model, right? So we are also looking for opportunities, right? And it could be an example where there's a pull ahead opportunity, right? Remember just now in the scenario where I say in an event, if there's a delay in a vessel, right, the system will automatically automate the process of getting the planner to go and rebook the truck. So in an event when the Fusion Center operators are actually doing the monitoring, they will identify opportunities, right? Through the opportunities, the system will then now, right, nudge the planner to go and rebook the logistic company to go and pick up the container early, get it into the customer much faster, and there you have a happy customer, right? So always balance things up in terms of managing the risk, accessing the risk, managing the risk, and then identifying the opportunities. Right, so in this model over here, what you see end to end is actually fully digitized, right? Which is also part of our skill set, right? Is that we are able to map out the entire supply chain, turn it into a digital twin, and we try to digitize the whole process and streamline them in sectors, right, in knots format, right? Like what Melvin said in terms of saving manpower costs, and not just that, right? We increase the efficiency and the productivity there. Right, with that, I will end my sharing, and we welcome everybody to reach out to us after the webinar, which we are more than happy to actually share more with you in depth and walk you through our live demonstration of our Visibility Pro platform. Right, without further ado, let me just hand over to Dr. Amarpreet. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Janet. So good afternoon, morning, good evening to the industry colleagues around the globe. The topic of the webinar today is securing high value and vulnerable shipments in a volatile world. Nothing apt, at this moment of time, we all know what is happening in West Asia and things happening in the one part of the Asia, and there is a disruption globally. This shows the, interdependence of the world and how we are interconnected. So I have the privilege of being the last speaker of the day today. So first of all, I would like to thank Voni for setting the context in the opening remarks of today's webinar. And we all know that we all heard this term VUCA world. So let's be honest, sometimes we just feel like, everything is on fire and we do not know who hid the extinguisher. So jokes apart, the reality is that the logistical landscape is more volatile than ever, So since I am heading this standards committee for the TAPA Asia Pacific region, so my mandate is very clear. I have to ensure that our all high value shipments remain secure. So today, to close our session, I want to zero in on the absolute backbone of our supply chain. So my views on something on the trucking sector. So let's look at the global hard data. Globally, over 75% of the cargo thefts, they consistently involve trucks. And we are seeing a concentrated spikes in highly organized theft across the Asia Pacific transit corridors. This is resulting in millions, disappearing on the every single day. And as Julian brilliantly highlighted in her session on the global cargo crime landscape, supply chain security can no longer be managed regionally. The sophisticated trucking thefts and the emerging trends we see here in Asia do not directly ripple into US and Europe markets. Our risk exposure is entirely interconnected, which means that our defenses must be aligned, globally. So what's truly alarming is how these goods are disappearing. The modus operandi has shifted from the asphalt to the cyberspace. Now, criminals are operating as phantom carriers, that is, using spoofed emails and counterfeit drivers' credentials to legally secure freight contracts, driving away the goods, and never fulfilling the delivery. Now, these syndicates are well funded and they are technically advanced. So this is exactly where Melvin's insights on the project Argus are so critical. So to combat these phantom carriers, we must reframe to IoT from a simple tracking mechanism into a strategic problem solving engine. So we have to now leverage AI-driven predictive models like Argus electronic fleet security to identify these cyber physical vulnerabilities before trucks ever leaves the dock. But all the predictive intelligence in the world needs a physical anchor. This is where TAPA standards, TSR, FSR, they comes into play. Earlier, Janet today showed us the power of integrated control towers to provide strategic oversight and immediate intervention. But a control tower only works if physical ground game is secure. So under TAPA guidelines, true resilience is about practical integration, ensuring the secure handover of the goods from the hardened facility to the vetted truck. So consider how we structure a high secure node. We do not hide the security operations deep inside the warehouse. We place the security management center right at the entrance plaza. This establishes an immediate visible deterrent and controls the flow from the first touch point. So it isn't about sheer quantity of dispensing visitor kiosks, the cameras or the technology devices you can bolt to the doors. You can have most advanced biometrics in the world, but it won't help you if your carrier's vetting allows a phantom driver to roll up and take the load. So integration and intelligent layout, they eliminate these blind spots. So TAPA Asia Pacific is not just a regulatory body, but we are an intelligence sharing network. My call to action for all of you as we wrap today is simple, is adopt TAPA standards, especially TSR, to tangibly harden your operations against the new wave of frauds. And secondly, let's break down our silos. We all are excellent at competing for market share, but we shouldn't be competing on who has the best kept secrets about being getting robbed. So by embracing robust standards, sharing intelligence, and standing unite, we can remove the uncertainty which is happening across the supply chains. So thank you for your time, your dedication to resilience, and your partnership with the Tata APAC. Bonnie, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Amarpreet, and thank you to the three speakers from Project Argus, Melvin, Julia, and also Jeanette. So thank you also, Dr. Amarpreet, for recapping. And I think we are seeing some very interesting questions in the chat. And well, this is all about, I think predominantly what we're trying to address today is using technology. Technology is already I think also echoing what Melvin was saying, is there are a lot of new normals nowadays. Technology is also one of the new normal, but what kind of technology? And I think I'm very impressed with what Project Argus has shared with regards to the different layers of the technology. And true to be said, so a lot of questions here also is revolving around I think technically geared. Yeah, so I think we have let me just reading through the chats here. They say that Melanie say risk layer is impressive. Will this come as part of the package or extra cost? So anyway, okay, maybe for further discussion, we can have one of the Project Argus team to reach out to you to discuss a little bit more. But if there's anything that Melvin or Jeanette or even Julia you would like to share, just feel free to jump in.
Thank you, Yvonne. Yes.
Yeah.
So with regards to the questions in terms of our risk layer, that's something that we shout out very much in Project Argus. In fact, truth to be told, every time when we showed out our Visibility Pro platform, one of the things that first captured the attention is actually all the dots, all the red icons on the map itself. Right. Yes. What Melvin have mentioned in the chat, yes, it does comes as part of our Visibility Pro package for the silver tier and beyond, right? So in terms of the platform that we shared earlier is highly versatile. So some of the customers actually use it really just for basic tracking in terms of cross-border road network. Some of them actually went on to track air freight, right, which is doable as well, which is achievable through our Visibility Pro platform. And everything on top of all this, you remember when I mentioned the most basic 5 existing layer, the first layer falls under the data layer, right? Under the data layer, that is really just the headline layer, right? And under this data headline layer, that is where we have the weather, we have the crime, and even under crime layer, we go into granular like marine crime, or even some of the hijacking, some of the other, just many different kind of crimes, and we actually filter that, which links me back to our integration layer, where just for example in terms of the crime layer itself, we do have multiple granular level, and under each and every of this granular level, we then actually put it into our unified database where we do further categorization and further filtering, and that is how just on the crime layer itself, we put it into our AI, train our AI, and our AI is able to predict in an event if there's any high crime hotspot area or any of the incidents area that may happen right in advance. So many layers in addition to that. So in terms of the crime, it does come as a package, and once the package is being subscribed, you get to enjoy all the other features that comes after. All right, I hope I answer your question.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I think there's a lot more probably to explore. So just I think it's good that you can scan. There are some contacts where I hope you can scan their contacts already to reach out and chat further. Rebecca also has a very interesting question also about technical aspect. Do you use a global SIM for cross-border shipments? Is it?
Yes, definitely. So in terms of our IoT devices, all our IoT devices have got embedded IoT industrial SIMs in it already. So they all can go on roaming, right? In fact, some of these IoT devices, one of which Melvin shared, right? Actually, not only does it have an embedded global roaming IoT SIM, it also have got a flight mode, right? So it has also gotten the airline approval where you just basically you get the IoT device, right? You don't have to do anything. You just turn on the button, activate the device, and off you go to track your shipment. As easy as that.
Wow, so it's as easy as take on and go, right? So
Yeah.
very
Yes.
interesting. Okay, great. And then so definitely then you have to have some global scheme to actually enable the tracking, right? Now, I think Rebecca, you also did mention that you have some damages with your current provider. So can IoT devices be used to monitor valuable equipment for damages going to? But I think it all seems that it sounds positively that you can Project Argus could have a possible solutioning for you with their take on and go. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I think Jonas also have a question. Does the tech allow for connection of external sensors, for example, the temperature or the moisture, etc.?
Yes, definitely. So in terms of our IoT devices, not only does it comes in a form of like different built-in sensors, it does have the capability to be paired or even communicate via Bluetooth Low Energies to different external sensors, such as environmental logging sensors, which is equipped with temperature and humidity loggers in it, or even we do have got the ability to track proximity as well. So that also comes off as a BLE sensors that is external.
Okay. Any more questions from the crowd? If not, I have this DM that somebody sent me a message to ask this question. I think it's also about visibility. How do you stop visibility becoming just another dashboard and turn it into real security value?
I'll take this question. Right. So in terms of visibility itself, right, it only matters if it drive action, right? So having the visibility itself is not enough. It must have the capability to be able to drive actions. So in today's world, unfortunately, many companies they have the data, right? But they don't have that decision-making layer. So this is the difference when it comes to Visibility Pro, where we not only have the data, we do fuse the data with IoT telemetries, different kind of milestone exception, or even route deviations, dwelling as well as facilities or transport status, all this into our fusion center control tower environment, right? Having the visibility, having the data, and then getting the data to be able to churn out into some actionable, either insights or decision making tools for you is something that's very crucial. It's as good as having the kind of visibility, but in terms of what to monitor, how to monitor, right? All this also plays a part as well. So it is very crucial because everything is linked to one another, and there should be a read across to everything. It doesn't stop just on the visibility itself. After providing you with the visibility, right? To be able to provide you with the visibility, you first needs the data. Having the data, being able to make good use of the data will turn that into a visibility layer for you. And having that visibility layer, then that is where the operators in the control tower, or what we call the fusion center, needs to be able to know, hey, what exactly am I monitoring, or how do I actually do the monitoring, right? Because the truth is not everybody with that level of visibility actually knows what exactly they are monitoring, which is also very crucial. And in terms of monitoring, how I then respond and escalate in an event of situations, right? So all these are something that we do have the in-house experts, which we can actually provide you with in terms of advice.
Okay, great. That is good points that is covering that Janet has shared a lot more about the technology portion and all the technical specs, what it can do, what it cannot do. I think there's a very interesting question from in a chat whereby it says, this is from Usama. Usama, maybe for a change, you want to on your mic and share your questions with us and have this conversation before yeah. Can Bridget, can Usama also turn on the mic to talk? Let's see, how do we do this? Usama, are you with us? Hi, Usama. Usama Khan.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for joining us today. Yes, your question.
Okay, so my name is Osama, and I am the head of security DHL Pakistan. So my question is that I'm really impressed with the Argus arrangements and the technology which they are using. So my question is that if it is established that cargo theft is being is under process, the control room and the thieves are just trying to, they are hop in on the trucks, and they are just cutting the gates and the stuff, and they want to take out the cargo. So is there any control which is being made that we can contact the law enforcement agencies of that region of or that country or that place to intercept at that point of moment?
Okay, so this is very much. Let me recap. Very quite operational. And also on how to use what is being highlighted, and the incident is highlighted, and then after that, what do you do, right? Or what are the controls in place? So Jeanette, you have maybe some examples of how clients are managing this. What are the things? What are the best practice that you are seeing in the market?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. So thanks, Usama, for this question. This is a very good question. That's actually so to maybe allow me to share a little bit more, right? In terms of even before we do anything, first of all, we have to map out the supply chain. We have to map out your entire supply chain. We break them down into the different sector. That is where we then do the supply chain risk assessment in that individual sector, right? And you remember in terms of our data layer, our crime layer, that is where we have a database of all the crime. When we are doing our supply chain risk assessment in your individual sector of your entire supply chain, that is where we will already have got an understanding in terms of your risk level. Right, through your risk level itself, that is where we actually turn all this into an escalation process with a SOP in place. Right. Having said that, touch wood, in an event if there is a cargo theft, right, definitely the operators in the fusion center or your control tower with that escalation process in place and your SOP, they will be able to follow that through, right? And then of course, we do have a database of law enforcement agency as another layer under our data layer, where it will actually trigger or automate the process of escalating it direct to the law enforcement agency. And you remember when I say in terms of the operators in the fusion center, they don't just look out for any red flags or anomalies. We also have service recovery processes, right, in place. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so
So
much.
just add into what Janet said, Usama, is it's basically having a hotline with the nearest police station. The moment an incident happens, someone has to just pick up the receiver and the call will go to the nearest police station. If you have to automate the entire sequence of things, then police station should have that best of the technologies so that that can be integrated. But since we are talking about a facility being integrated with the best of the cyber solutions in place, so the hotline is one of the preferred way of doing that. I don't know what else can be done, but at this moment of time, this is the only solution look like.
Okay,
Thank you so
fantastic.
much.
Great. So, well, we have a lot of questions coming from on the technical side, also on the operational side, which is great. But I think we have probably reached about time. Maybe let's just take one more question. Last question from Tran at Ethan N. Does 2G network decommission in some countries? Maybe Tran, let me try to put you on so that you can have the conversation with the team. Mic allow. Your mic is allowed. So Trent, do you want to come on to say, talk about your questions?
Yeah, I would like to ask about the 2G network decommissioning in some country may impact to the report generate to the platform. So is it impact to your project as well?
So to phrase this is a technical question on 2G network decommissioning in some countries having an impact on signal reporting. So, so to the August team?
Yep. Okay. So to answer this question, yes. So if you remember in one of Melvin's slides where he actually shared IoT devices that is being deployed, right, to track the shipments. In that particular IoT device model itself, it comes in the various model, of which one of the version is actually our LTE Cat M1, right, which plays a very critical role in the global phase out of the 2G network, right. So for example, in countries like Vietnam, right, we do also provide such models, which it does works, right, and it doesn't affect any of the signals just because of that phasing out of the network.
Am I showing the correct one?
Yes. So
Okay.
if you can see the extreme left, our Argus Rapid disposable, which is a very high in demand IoT devices. This particular model comes in a model which actually runs on the LTE Cat M1.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so this
Thank you,
model
thank
will
you.
work. Yeah.
Okay. So you can see, I think, thanks, Jeanette, for the answer. And I think, Trent, I hope I think this definitely answer your questions. I think we have, when you talk about solutioning and we talk about technology, it's so interesting and it's so much part of their life, but then yet we can't, there's so much not say that we can't catch up, but there's just not enough time for us to catch up on what is evolving. And with right now, with the current situation, volatility on top of more volatility, unknown on top of unknown, what is the best thing you can do? I think the basic right now, having to know where your cargo is one of the, is already like, as what Melvin echo, I really like the word, the new normal. What is the new normal now? To be able to trace and track your cargo is currently the new normal. And if you don't have it, is an issue. And I believe most of you over here, the practitioners, already have it. But also, this is also the having Project Argus team to share the solution with us. I think it opens our eyes also to see what are the technology that's outside. And I think that's great. A lot of learning from me on the kind of technology that they have deployed and how things are getting so smart, and they have that AI that is training not just on risk management, but also operational enhancement for customer satisfaction, to help customer achieve help their customers to give their customers, make their own customers even happier. Yeah, can deliver faster. So all these are I think this is a really interesting technology. So if you're interested to know more, reach out to the Project Argus team. And I believe after this, you can, get them on LinkedIn, connect with them, and can carry on the conversation earlier. I'm sorry, I think actually there's a couple more questions that are here, but I think I'll pass the questions after this webinar to the Project Argus team, and they can take time to have that conversation with you. Okay. Now, so I think without further ado, let's say thank you very much to the Project Argus team for sharing, your very innovative technology and solutioning that you have helped all your clients to manage a supply chain. I think this is very, very insightful sharing. And then if let's say you are also keen to have your company solutioning also shared with TAPA APAC members, do reach out to TAPA APAC Secretariat team, and we can share with you on how to also become a premier partner like Project Argus. So without further ado, on behalf of TAPA APAC, I would like to thank once again all the speakers for their valuable insights, and of course, all of you for being part of this conversation today. Thank you very much, and we look forward to you joining us in our next event.